We're going to start with the tournament information, the tournament golf course information, starting right here with the tournament fact sheets, the GCSAA. You can go and check this out by following this website. Just put .org after it, and you'll find the tournament fact sheets down at the bottom of the page. You can find a plethora of information here. You can see the pars, front 9, back 9, and, you know, obviously the full par, and then the yardage. Usually it has the stimp meter up here. Does not look like that, but from what I gather around the industry, they're going to be pretty fast. Now, before I get further into this, I only bring this up, and I think this is worth noting. Anytime you listen to anybody doing a course breakdown, course information, they're all just data points to use in your own research. I think a lot of people forget to mention that. So if you want to look up par 70 golf courses, and of all the golfers in the field, what is their scoring average? You certainly could do that, but you probably should add a couple more pieces of information, not just par 70s. Look to see a winning score probably between -6 and -10. I imagine that's probably what the score is going to be for this tournament. Everything is kind of pointing that this is going to be a tough tournament. So that would be another point. Like par 70, that's about 7,400 yards, where the winning score is between 6 under to 10 under. I think that would be a perfect starting spot. If anything, maybe err on the 10 under to 12 under range, or maybe even like broaden it, go 6 under to 12 under. That way you can cover everything. You can also use green size for your data research. If you want to use bunkers, bunkers are going to be a huge factor this week. So the number of bunkers probably is going to be a good data point as well. I don't really care so much about water hazards. I think there's a meandering creek that runs throughout this golf course. So you can see like the number of holes that is in play is 6. That does have an effect when it comes to the layout of this golf course and how the PGA players are going to have to do, how they're going to have to play with that in here. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Some of the most important information is just checking out the turf grass, because these are also data points that you can use in your research. Basically, whatever the greens are, I think you put at least 50% of your weights into that turf grass. If you wanted to use POA for, I mean, I guess not. I was going to say, if you wanted to use POA or ryegrass, whatever, for the rough, you certainly could. But you have bent grass approaches as well. And this is, I guess, I guess I wouldn't take this that important. The rough with the tall fescue, the Kentucky bluegrass, ryegrass mix, you could use that for like around the green, maybe some approach shots, but that's getting a little too narrow, a little too specific. I don't think you need to do that. I think bent grass is your best choice. And at the very least, if you want to do bent grass and just see what their average finishing position is on all bent grass golf courses, or again, what I was talking about earlier with the course difficulty, par 70, that kind of stuff, you could all add that together to really narrow down to see how good some of these guys are, or just do several different models that kind of separate all these pieces of information to really figure out who the best golfers are under each of those scenarios. So, like I said, this is probably, to me, some of the most important information. Green size is pretty important as well. If you wanted to marry this up with the yardage and the par, that would be fine. You could also use Donald Ross as your architect. That's a big deal. Donald Ross is known for greens that slope from back to front. You will want to be short on most of your approach. Like when you're hitting an approach shot, veteran golfers will know, don't go long. Going long creates harder up and down situations, harder chances to get par, harder chances to get birdies on par 5s if you can reach them in 2, all that kind of stuff. So that is important. Now, if I was putting a weight on that, I'd say maybe like 5 to 10 points, maybe not even 10, probably like 5 points when it comes down to what who the architect is. Just some influence, but not a huge influence. And of course, with these tournament fact sheets, you have additional notes. This is really nice to see. I would say like this one here doesn't help you with your research. So it's really nothing to even worry about. I'd also even say this one is also not indicative of your research. Like you wouldn't want to use that with your research. This one, though, maybe. You can see that replacing the old bentgrass POA greens with just pure bentgrass, that just gives you more validation to use bentgrass for your grass stat. And of course, on the cheat sheet that I have bentgrass stats. Mine goes by average finishing position. Like I had said, at the minimum, I think that's a good place to start, is with just average finishing positions. So this includes all bentgrass golf courses, easy ones, hard ones, medium ones. So if you wanted to get more narrow, you certainly can on the websites that you use, but on my cheat sheet, it's pretty general. Just has the total amount of bentgrass events dating back to 2013, their average finishing position as well, and their percentage to finish inside or their top 10 finish percentage. So this is how many, this is the percent of time they finish inside the top 10. Jon Rahm is definitely by far your highest rated golfer. And of course, when you do visit this sheet, you can go ahead and put the filters on, and you can sort top to bottom to see who the best golfers are finishing inside the top 10 on bentgrass. It is Jon Rahm. I know it's probably a little difficult for you to see. I can zoom in. But yeah, Jon Rahm is your top guy. And then if you want to do overall average finishing position, Jon Rahm also has the best average finishing position on bentgrass. This goes back again to 2013. And if we want to look at one full calendar year, this goes back to the PGA Championship last year. Sort from, bottom to top, low to high, I should say. And you can see Xander is the best guy within the last calendar year playing on bentgrass golf courses. So use that information to whatever you like. I add it to my model. When you're on this cheat sheet and you go over here, this little portion right here, grass one, top 10 grass one, last year grass one, that all goes in here. I create points here. Again, you can modify this however you'd like, because then that goes into your point total over here. It won't update your rankings because it just gets, when you're sorting, it will get weird because I'm not sorting the score with it, but you certainly could if you wanted to. You could do those things on this cheat sheet. But just note that maybe the best way to do this would be sorting from top to bottom when it comes to the sweet spot rank, and whatever totals that you see might be a little bit off. Like if you were to change one of these grass stats to, let's say you like Cam Smith, and you're like, no, he plays really good on bentgrass, and you're gonna not believe my stats. Give him 100 points. You can scroll over and see, oh, he's at 1095 now. He's actually above Tony Finau. So you could just go ahead and update this as well if you wanted to. So he would be your new number 5, and then everybody in front of him would drop down 1. It's a lot of manual work. You don't have to do that. I don't suggest you to do that, but you could if you wanted to. Again, make a copy, and then it's available for you. So just wanted to bring that up because of grass stats. That is included with my cheat sheet. The rest of this tournament fact sheet, probably just disregard. Going to my sheet, the next thing that I like to do, typically when it comes to most tournaments that have the same golf course played at the event, which obviously we don't with the PGA Championship. We have all of these different golf courses, some of them being rotating. We don't have that. What I would like to do, if it was the same golf course at the same event, would be looking at your finishing scores, figure out what the average score is to determine, what data point you want to use with research. We don't have that this week, so not worth looking at past results. The other thing that I like to do is kind of map out. I know this is going to be an eyesore for most of you. I usually write a description of each hole. I didn't get the time to do that this week, so excuse me on that. I apologize. I'm gonna zoom in just a little more. How about I'll leave it right here. Actually, let's zoom out. I want you to be able to see the full screen. Just ignore the information over on the right side. So we'll look at it just like this. Again, it's an eyesore. I understand. I'm sorry. These are the columns you want to look at. Again, I map this out based off a shot shape. I'm looking at carry distance to certain dog legs. Can golfers, if there is a short carry distance from one of the dog legs, it's better to hit a particular type of shot shape around a dog leg, especially if there's trees that are blocking you on the short side of your dog leg. So let's say if a dog leg goes right, trying to hit a draw over those, if there's trees that line on the right side, trying to hit a draw over those trees isn't going to work out because you're going to hit them right into the trees. So that's where fading the golf ball is going to be more beneficial. And believe it or not, despite the golfers being as good as they are, they all have a preferred shot shape. So just to, I guess, another thing to add to this, these are just preferred shot shapes. They're not required. Whatever I have on here are not required. And honestly, it's pretty negligible because I have 2 fades off the tee and 2 draws on approach. Basically, any shot shape is going to work at this golf course. But there are some kind of tight driving holes that the scenario I just mentioned, you'll have trees on the right side and it'll dog leg right. You really can't hit it over those trees. I did a little flyover on the PGA Championship. I looked at every single hole. I also kind of GPS, like satellite GPS'd it just to see the layout of each hole as well. There's a wonderful tool if you go to bluegolf.com, or if you just go Oak Hill Country Club Blue Golf, you're going to go to a website that's called Blue Golf. And as long as you have a sign in, I mean, they don't take money from you or anything. If you have an account with them, you'll be able to see each hole and you'll be able to map it out. Now, sometimes they have the wrong picture of the hole, but they'll have the right par, the right yardage. You'll just have to figure it out if it happens. We do have that scenario this week. So if you do visit that website, you'll see that. I think it's like hole 6 or 7. They're backwards. One is a par 3, but it's showing the par 4 on the next hole, or vice versa. So just be cognizant of that. But either way, you can also see the layout that way. But I did the flyover. The flyover is nice. It starts from tee all the way to green. You can see what type of shot shape is going to be required, or what would not so much be required, but what would be preferred, or if a golfer is going to have to probably lay up on some of those dog legs, like that's obviously a possibility. So that's basically what I tried to provide here in the shot shapes. What is preferred? Because preferred shot shapes just increase scoring opportunities. And because we're playing a fantasy game, we want as many scoring opportunities as we possibly can get. Some could argue that this is going to be more of a save par type of tournament, like a US Open. But either way, being in a position to make a birdie is going to be very important. 3 points will be very important for every, because that's what you get for each birdie. 3 points is going to be a big deal. Minus versus a half a point for par. Like, I'd rather my golfer get 3 bogeys and a birdie, 2 bogeys and a birdie, than get 3 pars in a row. So just be, I shouldn't say be cognizant of that or use that. It's just, that's something else to think about when it comes to breaking down a golf course. So basically, even amount of fades, even amount of draws. I would say, oh, hey, you could use my cheat sheet to see all the shot shapes that I have for each of these golfers for their preferred shot shapes, because, that's what I do. I look at golf swings. I break down golf swings. I understand which golfers like to do what. Obviously, these golfers can hit the shot. They can hit shot shapes usually both directions, but they all still have a preferred shot shape, and they usually go to it definitely in pressure situations. Definitely when there's a difficult shot in front of them, they're going to hit their preferred shot shape. So regardless if they can hit, but I can also hit shots both directions. I am more in control of my draw than I am my fade. So, and my draw is my preferred shot shape. PGA players are exactly the same way. They're just obviously better at controlling their golf ball than someone like me. Otherwise, you'd see me on tour. So anyways, you do have that information. If you want to use that, all I would say is probably, pause the video, screenshot this. I'll move the cursor, just screenshot it, see which holes matter. Not that big of a deal, honestly. So moving on to the tournament information, the only really thing to talk about here is your strength of field. How many golfers are in the field? There's 156. 156 golfers, and 20 is either 20 or 25 of them are PGA professionals. Now, for those that are unaware, the PGA Tour and the PGA of America are 2 different entities. The PGA of America are your golf professionals that are at golf courses. You know, if you go to a golf course looking for a lesson, that's your golf professional. That's the PGA of America most of the time. They're usually licensed or have their Class A certificate from the PGA, letting people know that they have passed their basically their exams, if you want to call them that, from the PGA that allows them to teach under the moniker of a PGA professional. So there are 20 to 25. I can't remember. It's around 20. And if you were to scroll down to the bottom of the leaderboard, the salary leaderboard, like I remember Braden Shattuck, because I listen to the PGA Tour radio. He, I think, won one of the events. He's a PGA member. Don't play him. Don't play any of them. That's where I'm getting at with this. If there's a golfer that is a PGA member and qualified through regionals, well, I guess through the national tournament that they had. I forget what that one's called. So I don't think it's regionals. Maybe it's sectionals. I can't remember what it's called. But all of those golfers, like your Wyatt Worthington, the seconds. I can't remember if Stephen Elker is, but you wouldn't want to play him. John Daly actually withdrew, so I have to update my sheet. I can't remember if Sean McKeel is in this or if he withdrew or not, but there are some golfers down here you just ignore. Don't play. Just don't play. There's no reason to. So find out who those PGA members are. Maybe I'll update the cheat sheet if I have time. Work is going to be very, very busy, so I'm not even sure if I'll have time to do that. But if you can, figure it out, and then just don't play those guys. Because remember, here at SweetSpotDFS, we're trying to hit the optimal lineup. The optimal lineup isn't going to be a PGA member who finishes 16th place. It's not going to be a PGA member. That's what I'd forecast the best scenario possible. More likely, maybe 1, 2, 3 of them make the cut. You don't want to play them. Even with the salary forgiveness it'll give you, you don't want to play them. So just don't. So just remember that. That's the unique part of this event. Again, 156 golfers. 912 is your strength of field rating. I have the old calculation when it comes to strength of field. The only thing that I'm actually missing from my calculation is like the home field advantage portion of it. But when it comes to OWGR and FedEx Cup points, that calculation together creates the strength of field. And I've been very consistent with those strength of field points. So if you watch any of my videos or anything like that, they're consistent with that score. Not the 912, but the calculation, just so you know. 912 is a high strength of field. That means there are some really good golfers in this event. It's basically your top golfers in the world are at this event. I'm pretty sure all of them are, but I'm just going to use the word most because I'm not sure, not positive. So really, that's the only piece of information I need to talk to about tournament information, because we covered most of it under the golf course information. So that covers your tournament and golf course information for the PGA Championship.